Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, breaking down the madness of this year's free agency with Ryker Richard. Ryker, we were live night one of free agency, went live a couple times. We signed off right before the nuclear Woj bomb hit of Fred VanVleet, ended up going to the Houston Rockets on a massive deal. And from that point forward, we also caught the Dennis Schroeder news when he ended up signing with the Toronto Raptors on a 2-year, $26 million contract. But we caught those news, Ryker, but lots of more things have been happening in the past few days. We signed Jalen McDaniels. Trade rumors are popping up left, right, and center. Some madness has gone down. Before we dive into any specific topics, Ryker, how you feeling about all the chaos of this year's free agency?
All right. It had to be a big offseason, Ben, and I don't know if it has been yet, but some of the quiet moves that the Raptors are making, filling a couple of the holes that the Raptors needed to fill. I'm promised. New coaching. Can we get a little bit more out of the solid guys? Is there a couple more moves left to make before things are said and done? It's still exciting, Ben. Lost the big guy of our team, Fred VanVleet. Siakam's been tossed around in the news, but I don't know. They're shaping up, Ben. What are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing lots of stuff. Let's dive into the moves that happen, and then we got to dive into the questions that have to be answered by this team. You brought up some Siakam trade rumors, the Damian Lillard talks. Should the Raptors get involved? We haven't been yet, but should they get involved in some trade talks? We got a lot of things to discuss in this video. Lots of stuff happening. As we get rolling, Marcel's calling for a like spike with some explicitives in the chat. So listen to Marcel. Get a little like spike on. Let's get this animation rocking if I can. Oh, no, it's not loaded up in here. But let's see the stuff that's happened. So the first big signing, I thought this was a massive steal for the Toronto Raptors over this weekend, Ryker, is free agent Jalen McDaniels agreeing to a 2-year, $9.3 million contract with the Toronto Raptors. Looking at it from the video I posted earlier, Sixers fans are absolutely rotted that, one, the team ended up letting him go, not giving him that much of an opportunity last season after he was acquired from the Charlotte Hornets. So Sixers fans are mad that he didn't get a lot of run in the second half of the season there, and then the Raptors sort of scooped him up before they could roll out with a new head coach. I guess Nick Nurse probably would have put him in the Nick Nursery down in Philadelphia there anyway, so it's nice that he's brought up to this team. But this man is a lead on defense. His three-point shot is not absolutely remarkable, just pulling up his stats, right? Last season, 9 points per game, 4 rebounds, 33% behind the three-point line, 1.6 assists, but all around, just a really, really solid player. Gives me Rondae Hollis-Jefferson vibes a little bit, coming off the bench, obviously a fan favorite here, with a much better jump shot than our Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. But what are your thoughts on the Raptors picking him up on really a contract that looks like a steal?
Gut reaction, could he be, well, maybe prelim thoughts, could he be a Corey Brewer type player?
I think so.
Wouldn't be
Go
a bad
for 50?
player comp.
A little 50 piece from McDaniels.
Wouldn't be a bad player comp, Ben. But the fly just landed on my nose. I said I should have brought in the fly swatter straight on the nose, man. Listen, Jalen McDaniels, I'm reading the scouting report right back from pre-NBA time. And what are they saying about this kid? 6'10", athletic, really looked at as kind of a 3-and-D player entering the NBA. Give him more of a role in Charlotte at times to ball handle, to, have the ball in his hands, facilitate, show that he is a little bit more creative, a little bit more multidimensional than just 3-and-D. And Raptors have not had much success in just the 3-and-D package. So if they can polish his game up a little bit, like you said, the three-point shot, it's not terrific. In the Philadelphia role that he had, shooting 40%, possible, right? That long, athletic, defensive-oriented, can guard the 3-4 spot, can be a perimeter defensive player, and if he can ball handle a little bit, can definitely find himself a nice little role with the Raptors.
Yeah, and the big thing is, you said it, the three-point percentage shot up with Philadelphia, obviously in less minutes, less attempts than he had with Charlotte, of a role there. But the Toronto Raptors, he probably, especially in the Darko system, right, the free-flowing offense, lots of ball movement, and players that are better than certainly the Charlotte Hornets teammates he had for last season, with LaMelo Ball injured for most of the season, Bridges out for the entire year. So the Raptors will be able to give him similar to open looks that the Philadelphia 76ers got him. So we know what he's going to bring on the defensive end with more of a spot-up shooting role, probably can fulfill more of that 3-and-D sort of ideal archetype for this Raptors squad. So, bringing him off the bench to sort of slide in for an OG, a Scotty Barnes, he can do similar things out there. We can run similar offensive sets. It's not like, Rondae, who is a defensive menace out there for our squad, impacted the game on that end of the floor. Was a good passer, could drive us all a bit, but his lack of three-point shot to such an extreme extent, Ben Simmons-esque shooter was Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. You kind of had to change things out there when he was on the floor. Had him running the dunker, running the mid-post area, move Marc Gasol or whoever was out there with him, to the wings. You don't have to do that with McDaniels. He can still fit in with our offensive system, but also be that kind of a spark plug. And 2 years, $9 million. Today's NBA with the contracts, the money that's flying around, that is an insane W for the Toronto Raptors.
Huge. I mean, you just can't be paying unproven guys, young guys, too much money. That was a big fear, right? Especially with how you've seen this free agency shake out. A lot of guys, I think, are undeserving, have been way overpaid. So it's nice to have a couple of
Say some names. Say some names.
Chris Middleton. That's one of the big ones. Fred VanVleet, obviously, is the one that is, I don't know. I think the Raptors, that's often we get burned in free agency when players leave. You feel, man, if only we could have traded them a season before and got something back. This is one of those times that we'll probably look in the rear view and laugh, or at least just celebrate the fact that Fred got paid, but we didn't have to get burdened with that huge contract. So that's a nice one. Even the Schroeder contract, I'm quite happy with now. A couple of days in, since it's been announced, I'm really happy with the money that we paid. Again, filling those holes that the Raptors have in the roster. So next thing, Ben, what are we looking at?
Marcel's coming in with a super chat, kind of segueing us into the next sort of topic. Is Marcel a big Delano Banton guy? Banton greater than McDaniels. That's what Marcel is saying out there in the chat. Well, for people that don't know, people didn't catch the vids, didn't catch the updates, Delano Banton has agreed to a 2-year contract with the Boston Celtics. Now, we knew on day one of free agency, right, that, hey, the Toronto Raptors, they didn't extend his qualifying offer while they did so for Jeff Doughton Jr. and Ron Harper Jr. So Blake Murphy kind of calmed a lot of the Delano Banton hive down, saying, hey, it's probably just Masai Ujiri saying they didn't want to give him the qualifying offer money because they can pay him less for a league minimum. Now, I don't think you or I really bought that. We figured if he was going to leave, if he was going to stay, they'd give him that qualifying offer. They wouldn't cheap out on, that little amount of money. But, we heard he took an interview with the Boston Celtics. He's officially over there, Riker. If Delano Banton, forget the first analysis, we'll dive into it. But if Delano Banton becomes the star, some people have prophesized in some of the games we've seen with Delano for the Boston Celtics, how are you going to feel?
Maybe we'll get him back like Big Yak, Ben. Maybe we'll get him back in a trade scenario down the road once he is polished in a different system with different guys, potentially a more put together team of the Boston Celtics. And then we'll make a move, bring him back on the roster. But for right now, especially with where the Raptors' volatility is, I think it makes sense to not have too many gambles on that point guard position. We're already quite stretched there. Is Schroeder going to be the starting point guard of our dreams, or is he going to play 25 minutes a game and we're going to rely on Gary Trent Jr.? Would you hate when I say that? Are we going to give Scotty Barnes that one spot role this season, to have Delano Banton as our backup one? I think we're really going down the ladder in terms of what our possibilities are as a unit. So I don't really, personally, I don't care to see him walk. I'm more intrigued by Jalen McDaniels, 6'10", perimeter defender. That's not really Delano Banton's game. Had good splashes of energy and creating fast break, but I think defensive centered Jalen McDaniels, a little bit more exciting to me.
Yeah, the turnovers for Delano Banton killed him. The lack of three-point shooting for Delano Banton killed him. But we have a super chat coming in, Riker, from Cherry Reaper Gaming. He's back, saying we need more players with big cheeks. I guess he's referencing Kyle Lowry. He just loves to throw cheeks in every single super chat he throws out there. People are calling for hit the like button. Appreciate the super chat, Cherry Reaper. Nice to see you back in the old chat. But, Riker, staying on the Delano Banton topic, as I have animations playing everywhere, going mad, right? The lack of three-point shooting, we saw him last season. We saw him his entire Toronto Raptors career. He'd go out there on the court. He'd do something crazy. Couple games, he'd just go mad for a 5-minute stretch, score 10, 12 points, knock down a few shots, in the middies, those floaters. Heck, even a 3-point shot occasionally. Then 3 games later, you get on players, the team scouting report, they'd see Delano Banton, they'd see those long braids out there flowing through the wind as he speeds down the court. He'd come down, he'd finish out the rim, have a bucket or two, and then they'd immediately switch to a 2-3 zone. They'd run to a little half-court trap, and then the Raptors offense was done. Because Delano, he likes to drive. Whether he sees a zone, whether he sees a little double happening, he loves to dribble into traffic and sometimes throw it off of the other team, get some turnovers, even though he's a decent passer. I don't know. It probably wasn't working out, especially with the emergence of Jeff Dowtin Jr. You said it, we have Schroeder there now. You're big on the Gary Trent Jr. potentially running point for next season. Scotty, I'm more okay with one of our wings kind of scooting into that position, but do you think Gary can play point with his tunnel vision there as a guard for this Raptors team?
He could play. You know who might even play point? Pascal Siakam. It might not be conventional point, but don't be surprised if Siakam's pulling the ball up the court. I think the simple fact is the Raptors they tend to be a little bit more facilitate first at the start of the season. And then as the season goes on, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, it gets a little more ball dominant. And Fred VanVleet tends to have the ball in his hands, late shot clock. And then typically it ends up being a 3. And that's what we saw year over year. His 3-point attempts per game, up. I wouldn't hate to see one season, especially now that we've re-signed Pirtle. Siakam's going to have a bigger role now. The ball's going to be in his hands more often. New coach, we might finally get a little bit more shot creating out of OG and Scotty Barnes. Let's play inside out, Ben. Let's keep it simple. Let's play inside out. Let's not settle for 3-point shots at the end of the shot clock. Let's just pound the ball into the paint and see what happens. I would not be surprised if a variety of different players held the point guard role at different times. I think it'll be a little bit more, lucid, a little bit more just, whoever has the best matchup might be taking the ball up the court. It might sacrifice pure assists or pure playmaking, but I think it's possible that from that you might get a little bit more openings if all the guys are just in the attack mindset.
Yeah. Well, having Pirtle in that high sort of mid-post area around the top of the key, being able to swing down passes similar to what Marc Gasol was doing, with those cuts, with everything happening there. We could get back to that as Jakob Pirtle's a very strong passer over the 5. Scotty Barnes could play that Draymond Green role, doing handoffs, throwing, hitting cutters and stuff if we don't have a natural point guard out there. However, as a fan of passing, that's what I'll call myself when I'm watching basketball games. I want to see a true PG out there for the Toronto Raptors there, Ryker. People are mad that we let Fred walk for nothing. The chat's going out there wild. But Ryker,
now wasn't Scotty Barnes the point guard on, I don't know how to pronounce his high school team, Montverde? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but wasn't he the point guard on that team?
His Instagram bio still says NBA point guard Scotty Barnes. So
this, right? He's telling us. He's given us the the preview of what's to come this season. That's our one, Ben.
Hey, we said that last year. That's why I'm not buying the hype just yet. Until Nurse was saying, "Oh, we're gonna see a lot more Scotty B at point guard," and then Fred VanVleet came out with the ball in his hands every single possession. So not getting too hyped about it. And Scotty did have some duds last year when he was, especially late in games, carrying up the ball, making some decisions. But we do have a super chat coming in from Bueno Kitty. Ryker, Bueno's back saying Scotty walking double-double this season. Let's go. What do you think Scotty Barnes' averages are going to be this year?
14, 7, and 7.
14, 7, and 7?
Yep.
Get those points up, baby. Points up for old Scotty B. Let's
18, 7, and 7. I'm gonna hold firm on 7 assists, okay. 7 rebound. I think that's his role this season upcoming.
That would be good. 7 and 7 there. We also got a super chat coming in from Cherry Reaper Gaming again, saying we need to trade for Dame, Sia, OG, Thad, and Boucher. So Ryker, this kind of segues us. Cherry Reaper Gaming's bringing up the topic, all the madness that's been going down as of late. Wasn't sure what we were going to talk about first, but Damian Lillard, he's been a huge topic of discussion amongst Toronto Raptors land. At least the potential to trade for him. Obviously, for people that don't know, Woj bombs, Shams bombs have been coming out left, right, and center about Damian Lillard demanding a trade from the Portland Trailblazers, and he wants to go to the Miami Heat. Now, I have the graphics brought up. I don't know if I'm pressing the right ones. It's getting teased for what's coming. Yeah, Shams came out and said Damian Lillard's requested a trade. The Miami Heat and Brooklyn Nets are among the leading suitors for the NBA's one of the top 75 greatest players ever. And the Heat basically... Woj just come out and said, people in Portland, the front office, the team, the water boys, they're all saying no to the offers Miami's been throwing out there. They're trying to get rid of Tyler Hero basically at this point, and no one wants him. The Nets said they'd be willing to bring him onto the team, but they'd want assets attached to Tyler Hero to bring on his massive contract onto the squad, even though Tyler Hero's not that horrible, right? At a max extension that he signed from the Miami Heat, it's a little bit rough. Especially the lack of defense, the inconsistency, and the untimely injuries he's had. So that's the key asset Miami really has to potentially move, and apparently it's not even an asset. It's more of a liability in all these trade discussions. I mean, they have some decent young players. Caleb Martin's an interesting piece there, but they don't have a lot of draft capital either. I mean, I don't see a package where, unless Dame says, I will only play for the Miami Heat, and I'm Ben Simmons-ing out a season if I don't get traded there, which I don't imagine Damian Lillard would. I don't think that's the team he's going to end up on, no matter what the reports are saying, no matter how desperate Pat Riley begs the Portland front office, or how much they gas up their new rookies that are balling out in Summer League. I just don't see a world where the Miami Heat have the assets to make a move for Damian Lillard.
That's fair, Ben. And listen, I'm not going to knock Damian Lillard's stats. Do you have them?
I have them up. We also have a couple super chats I missed on a little rant there. My chat screen's a little. Marcel saying, Ryker, you bugging. Scotty dropping 27 and 4. Any response to that there, Ryker?
No, he already averages 6.6 or 6.8 rebounds per game, and he was almost 5 assists per game. He's just got to slightly up that in the point guard position. I'm cool if he scores more points. I'm trying to be conservative.
Fair. He's 30, 10, and 10. Let's be realistic here.
30, 10, and 10.
Jason Watson saying like Spike. Folks, we got 360 people out here in the chat. Only 43 likes. Let's get those likes numbers up. I gotta get the like spike. Do I still have this? Let's go. It works on the keyboard. We can get the like spike animation rocket. It's not working on my stream deck, but like spike, they're rolling. But in terms of Damian Lillard's stats, Ryker, while people are spiking the like, it's averaging 32 points per game. I don't have the graphic pulled up. 32 points per game. Career high out there for Dame. Hitting threes, slashing, still doing his thing. He's one of the best shooters of all time. So his game should age gracefully, even though he's still 34 or 33 definitely last season. I'm not sure if he'll be 34 coming the start of the season. But you add him. You add a lineup of Damian Lillard, and you keep Scotty Barnes, and you keep one of Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby, Jakob Poeltl, Gary Trent Jr. still on this team. You have Dennis Schroeder off the bench now. You have Chris Boucher probably still on the roster. Precious, depending on what assets we have to give up. Grady Dick will be on this team as well. Another 3-point shooter, 3-point floor spacer. I mean, just imagine Scotty Barnes in the mid-post, and then Damian Lillard, Grady Dick, and Gary Trent Jr. floating around the 3-point line, cutting around this team like the Golden State Warriors. I mean, that would be ferocious out there on the offensive end. If the Raptors could go out there and land Damian Lillard, we'd probably have to give up one of Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby, and then probably a Precious Achiuwa, future draft capital. We kept Thaddeus Young, and this is one of the reasons we kept him. News came out that Thaddeus Young, we picked up his $8 million contract, which shocked a lot of people, but it's 4 trades like these, as you can match salary with that $8 million. Those types of deals, like, we have a better package than the Miami Heat, than the Brooklyn Nets, and our team will be filthy with Damian Lillard on the squad. And before I miss more super chats, Paul Blunt is coming in saying if Scotty doesn't average 20 points per game, he will officially be a bust, Ryker. Paul Blunt's out here, legend in the super chat. What do you have to say about the bust before we dive back into our disjointed Damian Lillard talk?
I'm combing stats. Who's the bust?
Scotty Barnes. If he doesn't average 20, he is a bust.
No, that's foul. Because, listen, the playmaking is going to be huge. I really think Scotty Barnes, unless this coach comes in and has just a radically different philosophy than I would have at the helm of the Toronto Raptors, it just seems natural that Scotty Barnes, who is, used to ball handling throughout his entire high school, university, in flashes with the Raptors, that seems his natural position. If he can average 10, 11 assists per game, which would be crazy numbers, mind you, he doesn't need 20 points per game as well. That means he's getting other players involved to get those points. So it's the trade-off. Yeah. But Ben, Damian Lillard, career high scoring on a bad team.
Yeah.
When you could say that this the most defensive pressure that would likely be on him, and manage to have career high on consistently good percentages, right? Among the best he's ever shot from three and from the field goal. Almost a career high in rebounds, and then among the top couple of seasons he's ever had in assists per game. So this is not to knock that he is one of the premier players in the NBA. And age 33, not a bad age. I think you're right towards the peak that you'd still get another probably 3 seasons.
Steph point guard's a little bit tough. What, 35, 34?
Who?
Steph Curry.
Yeah, perfect. But this is what I'm saying. The point guard position, it's a little bit, it can go off really quick. It can go off a cliff, especially. But Damian Lillard, his game is not necessarily just explosiveness. He is a little bit more close to that Curry mold where he can still create, he can shoot, all of those things. So there'll be more longevity in his game. So I'm not knocking his abilities. I'm not knocking his age. I'm not even, but okay, I was going to say I'm not knocking his contract. That is what I'm knocking, Ben, because what does he have left? 1 year and then a player option?
He has a few years left. He signed an extension with Portland recently.
Is it 2 years left on the contract?
I think you got to search up that Damian Lillard contract.
I'm looking at it right now. It says player exercise, but is it applicable if you get traded? So let's go with 2 years. Okay. Let's go with 2 years. It goes into the end of that 2024-2025 season. So you have a 2-year rental, better than the Kawhi situation. But you're telling me that the Blazers are going to accept just OG Anunoby in a trade. I can't see a scenario where only one of our best players would get traded for Damian Lillard. Because if you're trading for a guy who's like one of the most loyal players in the entire NBA, and the only reason he's been pressured to demand a trade is because he sees no possibility that this team is going to win a championship. And if the only way we can get it done is to get rid of 2 of our starters, then how are we in a position to win a championship? Are we just scrutinizing ourselves for 2 dreadful seasons where the star is going to come in and be unhappy? Like, if in your world it was reality where only OG needed to get traded, I'd be very excited about that. But I struggle to think that that's reality.
Well, so I'm of the belief, looking at everything, we do have a super chat coming in from, I cannot read Mandarin. I got to press the right animations. So I will not try to pronounce the name. But Damian's going to average 35. His contract expires. He's going to be 35 after his contract expires. The Raptors just need to join the trade talks as a third party to acquire Tyler Herro and send Gary Trent Jr. to the Blazers. That's actually fairly interesting.
That's
Let's keep getting sidetracked, Riker. Would you be interested in Tyler Herro on this team?
I can't say I wouldn't, Ben. I can't say I would. Now, I think he'd want to come in and be a starter.
Yeah.
So who you take? I just solved it. I'm taking Schroeder off of the starting lineup. I'm putting Scotty at the 1. Here's the theme of the podcast tonight. I'm slipping Tyler Herro in at the 2, OG at the 3, Siakam at the 4, Pirtle at the 5. I'd be interested in Tyler Herro. That's one guy you could probably hide on the defensive end. The rest is pretty solid. Pirtle, you could make the argument, well, he's not a good perimeter defender, but if you don't have to give up too much, especially a bench guy like Gary Trent Jr., something I'd be interested in to entertain.
Yeah, interesting.
And let's pull it back to Lillard. What are your thoughts on that Lillard sweepstakes?
I've brought up the trade package, the hypothetical, the idea of, I don't have the graphic here for it just right now, but OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Thaddeus Young, and I've been talking Grady Dick before he signed his contract, so he's ineligible to be traded for the next 30 days. So Grady Dick,
you put him in the mix too.
He can't be in there now at this point.
Have you toss him in?
Yeah, well, 30 days. He's ineligible because we signed him.
But you would put him in this scenario.
Yeah, that's what I was talking before he ended up getting signed. I think that beats any Miami Heat package. I mean, the Blazers, they were interested in OG Anunoby. Like, they are interested in that guy. And maybe it's a Pascal, but again, it makes more sense to have Pascal and Dame because then you're more win now mode. You still have Scotty Barnes on the team. You have Gary Trent Jr. Well, Grady Dick will be on the squad right now if we can get him. So maybe a Koloko, but I don't know how much trade value he actually has out there on the open market. Maybe throw in some draft capital. Draft capital would have to be added, but how much draft capital would matter depending if Grady Dick is involved in this or not. But, you know, if you have a starting lineup and just say it's OG in the deal. Damian Lillard, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl. You can't tell me, especially with the bench that we'll have with Schroeder, Otto, and Chris Boucher, or whoever the heck is on this roster. McDaniels, who we are forgetting about already, and we spent the start of this live stream talking about him. Hopefully one of our younger guys can potentially develop, but Jeff Doughton, one of these dudes. That starting unit, plus that level of depth. I'm hitting my microphone. I'm going crazy. You can't tell me that team is not an upper echelon squad in the Eastern Conference. And before you respond, Riker, I got to keep on track of these super chats. Bueno Kitty saying, say we get Dame. Who else do we need to win the chip? Well, Bueno, I didn't even read it and I just answered your question. I think we got a nice upper echelon Eastern Conference squad. If that sort of stuff is rolling, making sure I didn't miss any other ones in here now. But Rahul's coming in saying Dame would want the Raps to keep OG if he joined. That is very true, Rahul. There's actually a video I pre-recorded that's coming out later tonight that discusses that a little bit, potential packages on that front and that stuff there. But Riker, like, is that not a upper echelon team in the Eastern Conference?
In the East, that's the key though, Ben. That's the key. You're saying in the East. In the East, for sure. Because a team like the Bucks, Scotty's got to commit on defense. Yeah. That's the only way. If we lose OG,
Scotty better commit on defense.
But I mean that is a question mark. You have to concede that point. He has got to commit because he is the man on defense in that scenario.
Paul George did say that Scotty Barnes has Defensive Player of the Year potential, but Scotty Barnes and
Scotty Barnes locked up. Yeah, he locked up Giannis, so he has it in him.
He has it in him.
But every single series,
every night. You know, because it's 1 in 3 nights we see that defensive potential from Scotty Barnes. Because other nights he's not showing that defensive potential.
We're not looking for Kawhi Leonard on the scoring side from Scotty, but you basically have to be Kawhi Leonard on the
if we lose OG 1,000%.
Yeah. You have to because same thing on Boston. You know, you got to step up and guard Jason Tatum, right? I'm always confident in the 76ers series. we often lose. I'm always confident in the 76ers series, Ben. The Heat, you know, I think they're gutted. They're depleted now.
No Strus,
especially with
no Vincent.
Yeah, the free agent
Lowry
losses.
a year older.
Yeah. And who else is competitive? I mean, the Knicks, obviously, they're floaters. Pacers are floaters. Hawks are floaters. Nobody with the star power that the Raptors would have if you brought in Damian Lillard, Pascal Siakam as your 1-2 combo. East, I'd have to agree with you. But Ben, is Damian Lillard as your 1, Siakam as your 2, and no secured number 3 scorer enough to beat Phoenix, enough to beat Denver, enough to beat
Phoenix,
Los Angeles, enough to
Denver
beat Golden State, enough to beat both Los Angeles, Ben? Is it truly enough? Or are we happy to just make the finals?
Oh, I'd give, especially where OG's a free agent, if we get to the finals, especially, like, imagine what could happen with this team.
Yeah.
Right?
And to give Dame a little taste of the finals?
You give him a little taste. And then Masai gets back to drafting really well. Darko's out here developing, cooking up Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes games, takes their game to the next level, right? We add the right bench pieces. You never know. You get back in that contention. You get back into the conference finals, the finals, right? Then you're one step away, right? And the Raptors, I don't think we're mortgaging our complete future by that type of package for a Damian Lillard. It's still a big hit. Don't get me wrong. Keeping Precious, keeping Koloko, Grady. Obviously, we want these younger players in our system, on our roster, especially with the more development focus. But to get a guy 32 points per game, elite shooting, and even you look at a team like Denver. I mean, he's taken some brutal squads to the conference finals, to the Western Conference semis, had some insane series. I mean, you look at the series he had against Denver.
Look at a team like Denver.
What? Well, the series he had against Denver, playing for Portland with no help. The dude was putting in 40, I think 50 pieces, and they were losing double OT games. It's brutal, and I'm missing a super chat here. Azog, the OK. I might be messing up that pronunciation, but he's saying we need to get Raptors legend Aaron Baines back. We could add Aaron Baines to a Damian Lillard-led Toronto Raptors
if he didn't slip in the bathtub. Yeah. If only. Oh my God. If only. But Ben,
he's back. He's back playing. He's good.
No, I know he is. But Ben, all right. Before we close out the chapter on Dame Lillard, if the same trade package that you presented, but you're swapping OG and Siakam, is it worth it to do that? I'd have to say no.
No. It's like, if it's Siakam, I feel like the Portland Trailblazers wouldn't be that interested in Pascal Siakam. I feel like they just gave Jeremy Grant a max contract, which is also something crazy Dame did. I don't know.
But Jeremy Grant and OG are almost like same player.
Jeremy Grant's
not
more
same
of a
player,
4.
but
OG's more of a 3. Pascal's a 4. But yeah, OG brings it on the defensive end.
And then they got Scoot.
Yeah, they got Scoot. They
Jaden have Sharp. Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons on the squad.
That'd be a clean team for them to reset with.
Yeah.
OG's young guy.
OG's slipping at the 3. He's younger, right? The potential's there to be cheaper than a Pascal Siakam. I feel like OG slides in there nicely. Pascal Siakam, again, big money potentially coming next summer. OG, potentially big money coming as well. But OG would get a lot more shots there. And Portland will kind of fit his desires, with that squad. I'd imagine they'd want a contract extension or something on that front if he does end up going to that team. But Pascal, I feel like, could get sent to a third team and then money or picks, assets. Because the Blazers Woj came out and said, they want draft capital, they want young star players, and they want to clear up some of their bigger contracts on the roster. Like, not take back a Ben Simmons or Tyler Hero, like a brutal contract. And OG Anunoby is that cap flexibility. It's reasonable contract, reasonable money, reasonable age, fits exactly what the Blazers are looking for, that style of player. And then you add in a prospect like Precious Achiuwa, add in a prospect like Koloko. Yes, it hurts the Toronto Raptors to lose some of our young guys, but you're getting Damian Lillard. Right, that man is cold. That man is cold-blooded. He can come out there and with a strong roster around him, it would really work. And if we kept OG on the squad, then our defense is kind of like offensively, we'd probably have to figure some things out. Who's the number 2 option on this squad? If we get rid of Pascal and we keep OG and Anunoby, but even that team of we wouldn't have to give up if we traded Pascal, all the younger prospects as well. But Dame, Gary, Scotty, OG, Yak, that's still a pretty solid roster out there. We'd still need some stuff to happen in order to be sure we're upper echelon in the team. Masai will probably have to make some more moves rolling, but I don't know. I would love to see Damian Lillard on this squad.
And I think, too, the Raptors have 6 or 7 first-round picks that they can trade up to 2029 or something. I'm just reading into that a bit now. So, I mean, they have draft capital, if that's a thing
just
that's
not next
important.
Seasons.
Yeah. So, no, it's interesting. I mean, you've given me a compelling argument. I was going in hot with the no take. You've changed my mind. So, what's the harm? What's the harm in getting into the mix? OG Anunoby has been consistently on the trading block for seasons now. I mean, you can't possibly offend this guy any more than what he's probably already offended for his name always being in the rumor
I think
mill.
It's his own doing, though. I wouldn't be talking any trade stuff with OG Anunoby if he wasn't switching agents and doing all this madness to get a bigger role on this Raptor squad or another team or any of this stuff in the wins that he's been throwing out there. So I don't know. I think a lot of the OG rumors are just self-inflicted, him wanting to get a Jeremy Grant-esque contract.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't blame somebody for wanting a Jeremy Grant-esque contract. That's another player that was likely overpaid this offseason, Ben, but it's very interesting. I would have never put our name in the hat for the Kawhi Leonard news. Now to get a guy like DeMar DeRozan for a little bit and to get rid of a expiring contract that likely wouldn't have re-signed with the franchise, a little bit different, I think, than the situation that the Trailblazers find themselves in now, coming off a career year, not injured. The impact that he can make to the team. I think the Trailblazers have a little more flexibility than the Spurs did, but the Raptors, they're a little nuisance. They're sometimes in these deals quietly. So it's an interesting one. But Ben, what else do we have? Unless you want to keep going on the Lillard stuff.
They sneak in there. We'll see what people are saying. Leafs Digest is in the chat saying we'll offer Mitch Marner in a trade for OG. let's make it happen. Let's squeeze in there. We can get I'm about to say baseball player, Manoa or whatever. I think he's called up to the squad. We'll send Drake. We'll send the whole squad out there to Portland. All the MLSE or base. I don't even know who owns what these days. I think Rogers is trying to have a monopoly on all Toronto sports. Digest Media. We're gonna purchase all that now soon. But Ryker, to dive into just from one wild topic, and the Damian Lillard stuff, it's a lot of speculation at this point as well, given the fact that the Raptors haven't officially been linked. It's really only been the Miami Heat. The Spurs have been alluded to the potential sweepstakes a little bit, which I don't get. I think the Spurs are, they have a higher ceiling with Victor Wembanyama, but they are still an extremely young team. I mean, if Dame just wants to develop with a young squad, stay with Scoot and stay with that squad, figure it out. So I don't get the Spurs, but I think the Jazz potentially might throw their name in the hat. There's other teams that have been discussed and talked about around Dame. The Raptors haven't officially been out there. I think Masai Ujiri needs to, maybe they're not leaking anything, but needs to get some calls. See if we can actually get an offer happening. Before we dive into our next topic, we do have a super chat coming in from Dappender saying, are you guys going to do post games this coming season? Ryker, we doing some post games this coming season, sir?
You're darn right.
You're darn right, sir. Just threw a little Western Canada accent out there. It's kind of a mix of Newfoundland and my accents get wild, Ryker. But, sir, from one bit of madness to the next, we've had a lot of trade Siakam, lots of trade reports regarding Pascal Siakam over the past couple days. Big one started off. This essentially started all the madness, all this craziness, as Michael Grange came out and said an interesting player to monitor as the NBA transaction market heats up is Raptors Pascal Siakam. Keep hearing his name out there per multiple sources. Atlanta is still interested, Ryker.
Yeah, give me another source, Ben, because I couldn't tell you how uninterested I couldn't articulate how uninterested I am in trading with the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, John Collins was the name that was likely circulating a lot, that has obviously been shipped off. DeJounte Murray is the guy that you brought up on a previous podcast. While nice and while perhaps even more needed for the Raptors with the lacking of the true point guard. I mean, Dennis Schroeder, long. I think he's 6'2", but 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. We saw the effort that he put in his couple of series in this playoffs with the Lakers. But, DeJounte Murray is not and has never been at the caliber of Pascal Siakam. And I just don't understand why you'd trade $1 for a couple of quarters when they said they're not going to pull the plug on this Raptors team. And even the best guy on this squad, Trae Young, I mean, this team gets way worse in my head. And I don't see the argument on how how it would get better if you get rid of our best player, power forward, with no suitable replacement, and replace him with a non-defensive oriented point guard who has been very inconsistent and is generally viewed as the most overrated guy in the NBA, Ben.
Yeah. Well, Trae Young, we don't even have to think about. I don't think the Hawks are wanting that to happen. All the sources have basically come out and said Trae Young staying in Atlanta. The idea for the Atlanta Hawks is to pair Pascal Siakam along with Trae Young. That's their master plan, their master vision. But yeah, DeJounte Murray, there's been a lot of packages discussed. Michael Grange is one of the sources. Mark Stein has continuously brought up how the Hawks are still interested in acquiring Toronto Raptors forward Pascal Siakam. Brett Siegel has also discussed the talks between the Toronto Raptors and Atlanta Hawks. There's a lot of people talking about these Pascal Atlanta Hawks trade discussions. And the two potential packages that have really been heard, have really been thrown out there, and I think Jake Fisher broke some of this down as well. One, you brought it up, the DeJounte Murray route, who, looking at his stats, 21 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 34% from the three-point line. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He is very good at basketball. On this Raptors team, love to see it. Love to see him on the squad. For all NBA guy, from NBA champion, proven number 2 option on a championship squad, Pascal Siakam, nah. Don't want that to happen. Murray's an expiring deal as well, so you're not getting more security from a star coming in, a guy that's locked in on a really good contract for future seasons. No, You have the same issues you're worrying about with Pascal with contract extensions, not being sure if you want to give him that max money. Grange said the reason that the Raptors are engaging in some Pascal Siakam discussions are straight up because they aren't sure they want to even risk the potential of giving him a super max, heck, even just a max contract, given how strict the cap sort of is going to be coming up in future seasons. So it's it just gets worse with DeJounte Murray. And the other packages that would be on the way, Riker, would involve like a DeAndre Hunter-esque package where, you get AJ Griffin involved. I'd assume Kobe Buffkin, we just wait the 30 days to make something happen on that front, even though he just signed his rookie contract and all that, is ineligible to be traded for 30 more days. But some of those assets, Okongwu, another interesting player. But before we get into those types of topics, we do have a super chat coming in from Andrew Lothar saying, "You guys are my daily go-to. The quality of the content has been brilliant. Love seeing Riker brag. Thoughts on playing time for Marquise Noel?" Andrew, appreciate the super chat big time. Really, really appreciate all the everyone that's been supporting the chats. Been a lot of fun getting these lives going, getting Riker back on the pods. But I guess, we've been making diversions the whole time. You've seen some highlights of Marquise Noel, the small young point guard, two-way contract, absolutely electrifying to watch. Obviously, he's a bit smaller, so you risk liabilities there on the defensive end. Can facilitate, can shoot threes, can do everything. It's just short. And what do you think of him potentially coming in? Talking about short guards and Trae Young, what are your thoughts on Marquise Noel?
Ben, I was out of it for a season, studying, not following along any form of basketball. No NBA, no college, nothing.
No, so, I thought you were in the WNBA. You're bringing up
those facts on just following the WNBA.
Let's go.
And the number of names that I know, the number of teams now, the insider knowledge that I have in the WNBA, it's immense. But I'm just I'm just catching the draft, I guess. I'm following along on your coattails here for some of the events that have happened over the last year. So Noel chatter, that's all you, sir.
Hey, Marquise Noel, this man's could come in and be...
Is this 5'8"?
5'8".
Villanova? Wait, no. What team is he?
Kansas State, I believe.
Kansas?
We both know. Neither you nor I know anything about college
standout
basketball.
NCAA guy, right?
Yeah. Tournament, had some big moments. Shoots threes. Facilitates really well. Is a really strong passer. Has a way of finishing around the rim that is... Whether it's floaters or kind of scoops, you need it when you're a small guard. You need to be able to finish any which way you can. He's explosive. Literally does everything. Like, is a perfect point guard. Is just 5'8". So, defensively, we've seen guys like Isaiah Thomas kind of get cooked there at times.
I was going to bring it up. They just put him on the low block, and it just doesn't work.
But, teams made it to the conference finals with Isaiah Thomas as their starting point guard.
You'll bring that up. You bring that up.
Yeah.
You would. Right? But they didn't make it to the conference finals because of Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, they did. That man cooked the Washington Wizards. That man was out here dominating.
And who was on the Washington Wizards at that time?
John Wall, Bradley Beal, Otto Porter Jr. when he was getting max money. Gortat, I think, was still on the squad at that time. Marcus Morris or Markieff Morris, whichever one. That was a squad, man. The Celtics were good. IT was good. We'll not take any IT hate.
He came back. He had a fantastic series, right? Obviously, emotional series. And he put up a couple of really big scoring games. But you look at his career as a whole, especially after he garnered that attention, and just got immediately played out of the league because they said, oh, wait, we can just attack this guy on defense.
He hurt his hip.
No.
Brad Stevens ran some nice defensive schemes to hide. I don't know. Marquise Noel, I'm high on the guy. Also got another super chat. That's a like spike. Whoa! There's a like spike button on my stream deck. Let's go. Didn't even know. But we have a super chat coming in from Anand Paul Singh Kelsey. Again, everyone knows I'm a horrible pronunciator of names. But came in and said, I don't like the fit between Barnes, Siakam, and Jakob. I'd rather... I see the fly going in your face. I'd rather trade Siakam for Lillard. OG, Barnes, and Trent will definitely have a better production next season. Our shooting will definitely be good. So, Anand is saying that he'd rather trade Siakam. Would you rather trade Siakam than a deal that involves Siakam and like less assets, more so just salary matching assets like Thaddeus Young or something, or OG plus a Precious Koloko, a Grady if we wait this summer? What type of package would you rather deal there, Riker?
I'd rather deal OG, but
Okay.
here's the argument for the other side, and not on the offense. I'm not making any offensive comparison here, just on the defense. Okay, here's the argument: Boston Celtics, right? Boston Celtics. You could say that Robert Williams is a true center. I don't think he is a true center in terms of big man height. I don't know if the sirens is coming through here. I don't think he's a true center in terms of big man height, right? But they got a lot of power forwards on that Boston Celtics lineup. But most of the time they're running Jason Tatum at the 4, Grant Williams at the 5, Al Horford at the 5. These are all like undersized guys. And in the series against the 76ers, where I expected them to dominate the entire way through, right? Obviously they held their own. So, or did they win that series and then they lost against the Heat? Was it?
Yeah, Boston won. They were up 3-2.
So they were up 3-2. They almost let it slip, and then they came back.
No, the Sixers were up 3-2, and then they choked Game 6, I believe, or Game 7.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. Game 6, they came back. Yeah. So that's the argument: is that if you go with this no center lineup, you're not able to play Yak a lot late game situations. It could possibly work, but I think the reason that it works better for the Boston Celtics is because they have so much offensive talent. And I don't know if you're going to generate the same offensive talent from OG and Barnes. Like, I just don't know if that's the role that they'd be comfortable in, because the Boston Celtics, even if they're not getting a stop, they're just going to keep trading buckets, right? And they're just going to wear the other team down because they're going to just keep scoring on teams. And, that's like the way that they play, and it's an effective model for them, and it has been. But I think for the Raptors to have that 1-2 combo of Lillard and Siakam would make way more sense. You made the argument earlier. Rewind to that in the video. I think Ben, he's compelling in that argument. So that's the way I would go.
Give me Dame. Love to see that man on the roster. And we're loaded with super chats, Riker. Appreciate all the support coming in. Marcelo saying, will the people get the goodie mob for the watch alongs? And watch alongs will be back next season. Might be a Marcel mob in there too. I'm not sure what Goody's doing some behind the scenes stuff lately, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And Paul Blunt is coming in saying, go Raptors Digest. LFG. Raptors Digest to the moon. The Raptors are back. Raptors Digest out here cooking, hyped up for the season, getting the live streams rolling. We're looking for a much more fun season this year, Riker, and it's already sort of amping up with free agency. I feel like the vibes are picking up on this team right now.
The vibes are picking up, Ben. And if we don't deal anybody, I'm excited. I'm just excited to see the progression of the team with a new coach. It's a little bit of an underrated thing. And I know people get more excited about new players, roster changes, all of these, but we've been calling, begging, asking for OG to do more, Scotty to do more, right? To get more out of their roles, for Gary Trent Jr. to have more consistency. Is it the coaching? Possibly. Possibly it was evident on Nick Nurse's face throughout last season that, he just started to kind of check out and started to drag players, and that the locker room chemistry was a bit down. So, even if we end off season, no more changes, I'm still excited to go into next season and see what could happen. Exciting young draft pick. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. The Raptors do have to figure out their contract situation, because apparently a lucrative extension was coming for Gary Trent Jr. Chris Haynes reported it, and then we heard nothing else on it. But apparently the two sides are working things out. Heard that during night 1 of free agency. So nice to have Gary back, but it's interesting to see how that will go. But assuming Gary isn't extended just yet, which he isn't, right? We don't have any info on that. We have Pascal Siakam, OG, and Gary as free agents next year. I feel like that might be risky. I feel like that might be we have to extend some people.
You're not getting them all back, yeah. I think, if they all play well.
Yeah, they're all unrestricted free agents. That can get messy. But now with Fred gone, there's more opened up future cap space. Like, the Raptors have to make moves, in my opinion, for me to be real excited, not just stressed out every night worrying about the next rumor, the Lakers coming in for Gary Trent Jr., Pascal wanting to go to wherever to get a max deal, right? I feel like we need to extend at least 2 of those guys for me to really be okay with it, or obviously if potential trades happen. There's a lot of things that have to get figured out, and Bueno Kitty's coming in saying, okay, so who is designated floor general this year? And Riker, you're on the boat of Scotty. Are you like point Scotty all the way for this upcoming season?
Point Scotty all the way. I'm going to stamp it.
Lock it in.
I'm locking it in.
Gonna book it. Get a little take there. But Point Scotty, I think you gotta try it. I mean, we were baited with it so much last season. Point Scotty, it's gonna happen. Fred's playing off ball. Things will work out. I mean, Fred playing off ball, I think we won a championship like that. Run Scotty at the point, but it just did not happen. So I think that could work. Schroeder, obviously, for moments where we don't really need it. I'd love to see Dame be the floor general, though. I can't lie. I can't lie, Riker. I would love to see Damian Lillard be the floor general for this squad for next season.
And I'm just thinking about what you said, too, about the contracts that are coming up. Teams that win NBA championships either have LeBron or they've drafted the player that is... These flies, man. They're trying to get in on the podcast. They're trying to shut down they're trying to censor my take that's about to come up. Think about it, though. They either have drafted the best player on their team that's good enough to win an NBA championship, or they've traded for LeBron, right?
What about Kawhi?
Heat. What
about Kawhi?
True. I guess I blacked out the Raptors championship. It applies to every other team that's won the championship, though, because you have
that man right there, sir, right
the
there.
Heat, the Cavs, right? Every LeBron team, the Lakers, right? LeBron teams, and then on the other side, then you have Dallas Mavericks, you have the Warriors, you have the now Denver Nuggets, right? Guys that have drafted. So if the core of Siakam, OG, Trent, guys that are going to get paid likely a lot of money, is going to bring you way over the tax apron and just run the team a huge bill and restrict ability to make any more signings, then that's probably the logical time to part ways, go back to the draft, to find a new guy, right? That or trade for LeBron, I guess. But that's not going to happen. So
that's what we need to do.
So that's what's exciting about the Damian Lillard stuff. I mean, reality is if the Raptors run it back or semi-run it back with the lineup that they have now, they're not a championship team. They could be more exciting. They could make more of a ripple in the playoffs. They're not a championship team. A big move would have to be made. That, or they are destined to have to figure out, when is the right time to do a couple of tank seasons and get some draft capital.
Yeah. Well, if we lose Pascal and OG and Gary next season, it's going to be a rough couple of years.
It could be next season.
Yeah, it could be right away. We'll be going through some serious Toronto Raptors therapy sessions. We'll be trying to figure out what's going on with this team, what's happening here. Seeing a wee Nordo, lots of weird characters, letters saying that OG is gonna burst onto the scene, erupt next season. Riker, I lose a debate pretty well every year, betting that with one of my friends. I don't do the online stuff, but I always throw out a little $20 bet. One of my buddies. OG will be an all-star this upcoming season. OG has not delivered on that any of the previous seasons. Yeah. Is this the year we see OG take his game to the next level?
No. You know why?
Because he's a Portland Trailblazer.
If you can rewind the clock, Ben, to what I said, what makes an all-star? It is partially stats and it's partially standings, but I think it's mostly popularity through doing flashy things on the court. And OG doesn't have that mold. When he dunks, man, he dunks. He attacks the rim, and we're talking about it, and it's the most exciting part of a game, hands down. But he's not often doing that, and he's not really crossing up guys. He's not super shifty in the lane. He's solid, right? And when he has his best games where he's getting 20-plus points, they're always pretty quiet 20 points. We're not like, man, he torched it tonight. Defense was all over him. He went to town. Doubles, forget it. Doesn't matter. He's scoring through anything. That, to me, is like the all-star mold. Pascal Siakam, he does that, right? He is a little bit more exciting.
Baby.
He spins his way to the all-star game. Whereas OG, he doesn't have a signature move, memed or not. There's no signature move for OG. He's that quiet, get it done player. So unless he's averaging
OG just starts coming out here on the court, Riker, and he just starts using those laser eyes to come out and start shooting them out there on the court. He starts, every time he shoots it, he just lets it fly. The laser eyes set the ball on fire real quick. It goes down. I think he could average less points. He'd be an all-star for next year.
I think he's just gonna start pointing at people every time he scores. He doesn't need to start saying stuff, but just boom,
Real aggressive too.
Huh?
Just real into it, man. Someone I saw it in the chat. I gotta pull up this name. The chat's moving quick here, Riker. I'm missing stuff. Andrew Gray is saying, sounds like a free $20 for your friends. That's tough. That's tough how it goes. Riker, I think we got sidetracked there for a little while, but we'll just briefly touch on it again. So you're out on an Atlanta Hawks trade, even if DeAndre Hunter and AJ Griffin and Kobe Buffkin are involved.
Yeah, I'm out on the Atlanta trade. I mean, if I did a trade with Atlanta and I got maybe Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter, and DeJounte Murray, contract stuff aside, those are three nice players, not three players that I'd want to trade Siakam for. To me, Siakam, you got to get back an equivalent all-star number 2 player.
Yeah, like a guard at that position, a Damian Lillard.
Yeah. But even still, I'd hesitate on that Damian Lillard trade, right? You kind of want to trade positionally with Damian Lillard or with Pascal Siakam. There's no trade on the Hawks that interests me with Siakam.
Completely hypothetical. And hello, fellow Atlantic Canadians, Timothy and Becan. But just people shouting out the old East Coast. But Riker, completely hypothetical, completely just thrown out there. And I'm saying no before I ask the question. But would you throw a Siakam for James Harden?
No.
Yeah. James Harden's out here. Siakam for Karl Anthony Towns.
He just strikes me as a bit soft, and I'm not familiar with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just don't follow their team. I watched a little bit of their series. I found it boring. I thought it'd be a little bit more explosive with Anthony Edwards. I know Karl Anthony Towns had some good games, when he likes to try and be that guy, but I think he's a bit of a poser, if I may. If that's too aggressive a word, pull me back, Ben. Pull me back if that's too aggressive. Right? But he's a bit of a poser. I just see the interview stuff, the personality kind of flip-flopping. Some nights he has it. Some nights he's softer than Embiid. I just think it's like, the Walmart version of Embiid. I don't know if that's what the Raptors would need. He's probably a better player, probably more of a raw skilled player than Siakam, but I just don't know if talent.
Immaculate for Cat. And maybe in a Raptor system, he'd blossom. But that dude, as you said, is a poser right now. That dude come playoff time.
I'm going to hold you back, Ben.
It is ugly out there. But he feels like a guy that could potentially be on the move this offseason. So just threw his name out there for potential stars and all that. And he's a good jump shooter, but he says he's changed the game. People look back at history and view Karl Anthony Towns as the guy that changed NBA history. He said that about himself on a podcast. So, maybe the Raptors got to jump in on all that. But yeah, it would have to be a very compelling offer. Masai would have to have some crazy plans done up in order for me to be happy with a potential Pascal Siakam trade. But it's, Paul Blunt, he made fun of you earlier for calling his take foul, but now he's agreeing. Cat is totally a poser. So, and Prophecy's asking as well, Siakam for Jaylen Brown.
Siakam for Jaylen Brown?
Yeah. Would you do that trade?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
No.
Jaylen Brown's good stats this year. Can't dribble.
I just think that it's the lack of being able to replace the power forward position and already being not that strong at the center position to trade for a guard with Siakam doesn't. I don't know. I don't know who would guard,
like a wing that plays Scotty, OG's, Gary's position.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown is really a best of 3, but he's really a 2. Yeah.
No, so there's all that. There's all that sort of stuff happening. But there's a one name that's getting thrown out here. I don't know if you caught it, right? We could probably end on this old topic here.
Yeah.
But a man, I see the fly flying around your house. And the fly doesn't want us to talk about Bull getting waived by the Orlando Magic today. I was out on a run. I was out there running, doing my thing, and then tweet notification pops up. You know, this time of year, you gotta pulled out the phone, had a look, and Bol Bol was waived by the Orlando Magic. Do the Raptors swoop in and bring him in?
Well, let's do a side-by-side. Chris Boucher or Bol Bol, because, I mean, they're kind of the same player at the end of the day, aren't they?
Bol Bol's way... Boucher's unorthodox jump shooting. Bol Bol's just an orthodox player.
An unorthodox player? I mean, Chris Boucher, he's a launcher. He'll just put it up. But I'm curious on Bol Bol's stats, because I've only seen highlights, you know, and, oh, God, atrocious three-point shooting.
What's his percentage? Break down the stats.
Do you want to guess what his three-point shooting is? You'll probably go low. You'll probably go too low, so bear in mind.
28%.
26.
26% for Bol Bol. That is atrocious.
Versus Chris Boucher's 33.
Okay.
So
he's on a down year last season too, like from three-point shooting.
A little bit of a down year.
Yeah.
And then about 9.5 points, 5.5 rebounds for Boucher.
Yep.
Interestingly, similar 9 points and 6 rebounds for Bol Bol. So you're getting almost comparable stats, a little bit taller with Bol Bol, potentially a little bit more defensive minded. But I'll tell you, when Boucher is in the lane, getting blocks, running the fast break, grabbing it on the other end, dunking it in transition, nothing better. So do we need two of the same guy? Perhaps not.
Bol Bol also turns over the ball 24/7. That man loves to dribble, and he is like 7'2". And King Bro is coming in with the super chat. Appreciate the super chat, King Bro. I gotta get the animation playing. He's trying to get me to say some silly names out here on the podcast. So Enorma Enorma, first name, and then Stitz, second name, is the best player in the USA. So you know, what are their stats, King Bro? What are their stats? Get Moses Brown.
Per 36, Bol Bol would have 3 turnovers a game. That is a
for
lot.
Your center.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's tough. And Harry Tedford is coming out saying a name that I recorded a video a few days ago, Riker. Do you see the trade where Tyus Jones ended up going to the Wizards, Stinky Pinky went to the Celtics, and Marcus Smart went to the Grizzlies? You saw that deal?
Yes.
So that came out at like 2:30 a.m. I said, you know what? I want Tyus Jones. I was frustrated by the lack, and a couple picks went to Boston as well. I was frustrated about the little that Tyus Jones is valued at. I wanted him on the Raptors. Somehow, some way. The Wizards, they got Jordan Poole there at point. They should let Tyus Jones go. Let him come to the North. He would be a dude that I would love, especially if it's cheap, especially if it's on the low. Would love to have on the Toronto Raptors.
Fair enough. Well, you can't, so.
We can. We can
Another
make that trade with the Wizards.
Fair enough.
Throw a couple seconds at Washington. Hopefully they'll be happy. A couple pick swaps so you get Bradley Beal. But Riker, it's been madness. It's been pure chaos going around Raptors land. Is there any last sort of topics you want to dive into before we sort of sign this thing off?
Not necessarily, Ben, but have the Raptors figured these things out?
I think they got to. We discussed all
Do they
the
need to
topics.
consult the Raptors Digest live videos
I
to
think
figure these things
Masai
out?
Ujiri makes all of his decisions watching our lives.
So that means it's inevitable. We're
There's
getting in on the Lillard sweepstakes.
We're getting in on the Lillard sweepstakes. We're not trading Pascal to Atlanta. We're getting Tyus Jones. Bol Bol will sign for the memes, for the content. And you and I are going to be
Jalen
the starting
McDaniels
point
will be
guard.
an exciting 3-and-D prospect that flashes
Jaden
some ball handling.
And OG's going to the All-Star game.
Oh, I can't support that take.
It's happening. But folks, you guys are best to make this far. 436 people in here right now. Appreciate every single one of you and everyone that was watching as we were live and watching the future. You know, if you made it this far, especially appreciate every single one of you. Hit that subscribe button if you've been watching the vids. You know, all the crazy vids that have been going on this channel lately. You're not subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us. Shoot, we're getting close to 30k subs right here. Get a little graphic. Maybe we'll play one-on-one if we hit 30k subs. we'll deliver on that one-on-one game we promised for 20.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
we didn't. We said it was like we need to hit 20 by June of something, and we just didn't make it. So we never played that one-on-one game. But we'll bring it back. Esson saying, I need to learn how to read, but saying you got to bring back the Walmart hat. We might have to if this season. You definitely would have had it for this most recent season. But Iche's looking for a shout out. I'll give you a shout out. Don't spam. But Riker, it's been some free agent madness, but we'll make that push to 30K subs. But Bueno Kitty coming in with a super chat saying, if I can press the button, how many Raptors therapy sessions will be this season? Bueno, I can guarantee, Riker showing it up there, there will be 0 Toronto Raptors therapy sessions because, as said, we run the show now. Damian Lillard's going to be a Raptor. All the madness is about to ensue, and we're going to win multiple championships. So, why the need for therapy? Toronto Raptors therapy, at least. So... But, folks, you guys are the best for making this fair. Subscribe to the channel. Inderveer. Oh my god. Again, I need to learn how to read. Wants a shout out as well. Shout out to you, my friend. But, Riker, do you have any last words on all this chaos that's been going around the Toronto Raptors?
Damian Lillard, man. Let's get in the mix. And that's it. Cheers.